Since I'm specifically talking about public relations today, I'll talk about some samples. I'll show you some examples of it and some tools and techniques. Some simple steps on how to boost publicity. I know it's not like you guys all own small businesses now, but it's kind of interesting when you start watching the news or reading the paper. Once you learn what publicity is, you'll go, hey, that's publicity, as opposed to somebody who's paying for advertising. I'll help you learn to think beyond advertising, to really understand public relations in any economy. I know right now, with the downturn economy, everything is changing, but publicity and public relations is one of those marketing activities that will benefit you in any economy. How to avoid some of the pitfalls, and then if you're spending any money or time or energy on marketing, you need to be measuring the results. So I'd like to start out with a case study. Has anybody ever heard of Tropical Smoothie? They have about 11 franchise groups in the East Valley and only 2 here in the West Valley, Goodyear, Litchfield area. So I expect we should start seeing some more of them. But last year they came to my agency and they interviewed us, and they were looking for an agency that could help them, that had intimate knowledge of public relations and could help them drive traffic to their store. So we came up with several solutions, but the one that we agreed on was, let's create a reason for consumers to come to their store. If you've never heard of Tropical Smoothie, you need a reason to come into the store. So we created National Flip Flop Day in June, if anybody's interested, and we put together a promotion that if you came into the store and you wore flip-flops, you got a free sample of their latest flavor of smoothie. So that increased their awareness to people who had never heard of them, or at least going into the store. Once you went into the store, you had the opportunity to buy a paper flip-flop, put your name on it, and put it on the wall. And all of that money went to a philanthropic organization. It was actually a kids' camp. So based on what we did for them, they came to us, they had a problem, we gave them what the solution was, they hired us to do it, we sent out press releases, and we were able to garner just under $21,000 worth of advertising. So if they had gone out and paid for advertising, they would have paid about $21,000 for advertising. So that means we got them on 5 broadcast appearances, and broadcast appearances means we got them on TV, channel 15, channel 3, channel 5, for just under 15 minutes of airtime. We had 3 online articles, and we had 6 print publications. So how did I get into this, and why am I here talking to you today? My firm, Marketing with a Flair, we specialize in marketing, advertising, public relations, and strategic planning. As Rita said, I help small businesses, but I also go into large businesses who maybe don't have all of the resources, or they have a 1 or 2 people staff and they need to supplement it. We also have received several awards. We hold, for the last 7 years, we've been ranked #1 for 9 employees or less by Ranking Arizona, and we hold 2 international awards. So what is marketing? Does anybody know? I really want this to be interactive. I don't want to stand up here and just talk. So if you have questions, feel free to ask as we go along. But anybody, what's marketing?
Ways to get your brand name out.
Exactly.
Like advertising.
Exactly. It's the systematic approach. It's the strategic approach to get your mind or get your service or product in the minds of the consumers. Oh, great. Thank you. The marketing mix. There are 4 areas of the marketing mix, which is your product or service. What is it that you're actually selling? The second one is the price. Are you going to take the approach that you're going to skim the market, which means you want to be priced really high, like all of us who go to Starbucks, if you're going to charge $5 for a cup of coffee or $8 for a cup of coffee, you're going to have people pay it. Or are you looking for a strategy that's the Walmarts of the world, where you're going to have a lower price, but you're going to sell a lot more? So that's part of marketing. You need to figure that out up front. The third, these are called the 4 Ps of marketing. The third one is distribution or placement. How are you going to get your product to consumers? Are you going to sell it on Amazon? Are you going to be only online services? Or are you going to sell it, at Costco? So that's how are you going to distribute it? Are you going to go through a distribution center? And then the last one is promotion, which we're going to be talking about today, which is the promotional mix. Questions?
We just covered this. This is perfect timing because we're just in the middle of this chapter, Mark.
so when I say marketing, what first comes to mind?
Promotions and ads.
Right, exactly. Most people think of advertising, but I'm here to explain to you that advertising is not marketing. It's so much bigger than that. Think of marketing as the whole pie. There are really only 4 types of marketing, and that's retention marketing, referral marketing, lead generation, and branding. So when we talk about the promotional mix and marketing, we're going to talk about advertising would be one slice of the pie, personal selling, sales promotion, public relations. That's basically the promotional mix. There are other slices of the pie that we're going to cover today, which include maybe direct selling, research. You guys were talking about demographics. That's really important when you talk about the research part of it. That's a whole nother part of the marketing. But we're going to concentrate on the marketing mix today, or the promotional mix. Right here's a graphic. Again, we're going to primarily talk about the advertising, personal selling, public relations, and sales promotion. Some models, I know your book did not, but some models also include direct marketing. I'm not really going to talk about the target audience and the life cycle. I'll touch on target audience a little bit, and I'm excited to hear that's where you guys are, because it really directly affects what you do in marketing. All of those other areas are important when you talk about how are you going to promote your product. You need to understand product or service. You need to understand where you are in the life cycle. So any questions? I basically was just looking to build the foundation so we're all on the same page. Questions? Okay, advertising. Advertising is basically any form of communication that's used to persuade a consumer to take action. But how would you define if it's advertising or if it's one of those other promotional mix items? Advertising has to meet 2 criteria. One, you're paying for it. So if you take an ad out in the newspaper, if you put an ad online, you're paying for it. It doesn't come free. But the advantages of you paying for it is, 1, you have control over the message, and 2, you're in charge of the message. So when Coca-Cola puts their ad on TV, they're paying for it and they know exactly what that message is. Here's just a couple of examples. A TV commercial, again, that's a paid advertisement. If you send out a newsletter, you are paying for the postage on it, for the printing on it, for the content that you put inside of it. Personal selling, there are 5 forms of personal selling. First one is prospecting. As I mentioned, there's only 4 ways to market. Prospecting is the third one that we look at, which is usually how are you going to get new customers? That's called lead generation. So getting new customers, personal selling, that's the first item that you need to do. Second is communication. Basically, you're providing information to your of your product or your service. So you're telling people, if you're selling Coke products, you're telling them about the Coke and what it tastes like, and if you're selling houses, where they're located and things. So you're informing the consumers about it. The actual selling part of it, that's really the interaction, answering questions about your product or service, providing them with maybe a brochure or something like that. Attempting a trial close. So if you go in to buy a car and they say to you, so if I meet that $500 payment and you're able to walk out today with the red little convertible that you want, or can you buy this car today, or will you buy this car today? That's called a trial close. And again, in the personal selling model, that's what you have to do. Get the consumer to start saying yes. Servicing, providing that service and support to the customer. When you go in to buy a cell phone and they want to answer all your questions and they want to help you until you actually close the sale, then they don't care about you anymore. But this is servicing. It's making sure that you have that support lined up for your product or service afterwards. Like the snowblower people, if it breaks down, how are they going to service it? Those are questions that you try to address up front. And the last segment of personal selling is closing the sale. More than 90% of sales are lost because nobody ever asks for the sale. So before you close it, you need to ask, so when are you going to make a decision, or Are you ready to make a decision today? Questions on personal selling? Okay, I know I'm kind of flying through this. Sales promotion. Sales promotion is really the fun part of, well, it's all fun for me, but sales promotion are fun because it's very specific type of, it is a communication, it is considered a form of advertising, but the sales promotion part of it is usually more defined. It's a specific offer, it has a starting and an ending, whereas other forms of communication happen all the time. For example, this one has, save $1,000 by a certain date if you move forward with it. So other samples, right now, I can't tell you how popular contests and display ads, anything that we can give away free, we're able to get consumers more interested, and a lot of that is related to the online advertising. More people are going on, you go online every day, but people aren't reading the newspaper, the print newspaper every day anymore. It's 46 or 47% of the people are getting their newspapers online. And what's really interesting, again, talking about demographics, is even though you live here in Arizona, maybe you're from Ohio, we're finding that 17% of the population still go back and read their newspaper from their hometown. So that's kind of interesting. Here's a couple of ads that we created. One was for a free teeth whitening, and the other one was for a free iPad. Again, we're just looking for consumers to give us their information so we can continue to market to them. If somebody's interested in teeth whitening, they may not win this contest. Excuse me, they may not win the actual contest, but we know they're interested in teeth whitening, so we'll send them a follow-up email campaign that says, you didn't win the contest, but we'll give you $100 off teeth whitening. It's considered a warm lead. Questions on sales promotions?
Like with the big companies, would they have like their own marketing firms, or they still go out and like
It's actually
hire?
a combination, because I have clients across the country, and I have one in London right now. Back when we were talking about newsletters, I write for newsletters across the whole country. Let me clarify, I couldn't write my way out of a paper bag. I have a great staff, so journalism is a great major, communications is a great major for that. Major corporations, sometimes they have seasonal trends where they need supplemental services. So even major corporations come to smaller firms, or they hire freelancers, individuals, to help them with certain projects. In a second, we'll talk about some of the tricks and secrets of a PR firm. A major corporation may not have access to all of those, whereas a PR firm does. So what is public relations? The difference between advertising, the primary difference between advertising and public relations is public relations is unpaid. It means you are not paying in exchange for your product or service to be advertised in their publication. And basically, how do you get unpaid advertising? You submit story ideas to media representative, to bloggers, to social medias, to syndication. And what's really cool now is with bloggers, and some of them do charge for it, depending on their networks, but if we submit an idea or a product and a blogger writes a lot about new homes and we are selling new homes here, we'll get more interest in our product and service. One of the other disadvantages of publicity is that you have no control over the key message. When we send out a news release and we're talking about our products and our services, we explain in there what the key message is, but the reality is the newspaper doesn't have to cover it in that same way. There's no financial exchange, so if I submit something to the local media and they choose to run the story, they're not going to charge me for it. They're going to go ahead and, because of our credibility, they're going to, they may fact check our story, that they're going to run it without. Going back up to no control over the key messages, it's about a year ago, we sent out a press release on bass signs because they just added vehicle wraps to their product mix. And we got tons of coverage. We got it both in the Arizona Republic, and you know the Arizona Republic is also owns Channel 12, so we got it on Channel 12. And it was exciting because we got our client on the news and in the newspaper, but it wasn't exciting because they wanted to